It's all about consent. Keep that Darvo card handy. You may run into Darvo. You may run into Darvo. Just be ready for it. Be ready to understand. It's really not about you. You're running into malicious tactics that you don't need to be the brunt of. Why is Stephen Miller attacking DEI? What is it really? I mean, one should be able to say it, right? I think. Might we not be able to say it? What you love? Love thy neighbor. As you love thy neighbor. We are the reality distortion fielding. We are the players on the field of life. Not a game. Maybe not a strife. What if kindness means we're here as one? Or can also be seen that way, and might as well then have already begun. What if our kindness is where our kindness comes from, which means we can heal, and that the principal's office maybe is not about where someone gets spanked, but about where principles protect all of us. We are seeing direct attack on fact and truth escalate to legislation that is what Orwell was trying to predict. The escalation is truly damage. The scale of projecting lies being created by Stephen Miller in order to trampoline themselves by their sheer madness by their sheer opposite with reality, and in part by the paralysis that that incredible terroristic gaslight sprays at us. Woke means love your neighbor. Woke means love your neighbor. Woke means love your neighbor. Woke Woke means I think I could be off. I might be wrong. What does it mean? What will you say in public that you think woke means, other than being aware enough of ourselves and others that we bestow basic neighborhood and human decency on one another? And isn't that kind of like the only instruction that was given us essentially by somebody that Christian nationalists tell us they follow? We are dealing with terrorism from the Ku Klux Klan because they are trying to tell us that our children should be abused in school, should be told they cannot be who they are, should be told they cannot talk about racism in a country founded on stealing human beings and stealing opportunity and stealing labor to build a White House, a mansion to whiteness. No. We are dealing with tyranny, with bigoted theocracy. It is patriarchal terrorism, and these are Nazis. And if woke doesn't mean love your neighbor, if Jesus didn't teach DEI, then what exactly does the word of Christ mean to these fucking Nazis? These are Nazis. They're Nazis. And we are either the Confederate United States or we're the United States of America, and we tell these Nazis they can do anything they want for therapy except murder people. This stops now. It stops now because we recognize we are under attack and being strapped down to be tortured. This ends now or it won't. This ends now or it will not end. They're trying to establish a franchise that replaces Planned Parenthood with planned forced birth. We stop it in Arizona. We stop it in Missouri. We stop it in Alabama. We stop it in Arkansas. We stop it at the desk of Ryan Walters, who is trying to be the new Jeffrey Epstein. Either this is America under a United States that are unified across differences for equality, or we are submitting to the Ku Klux Klan. We are looking at the left and people loyal to this country being coerced by cheating, raping, fraudsters, and deadly lynch-mobbing liars into child abuse, institutionalized racism. It is systemic racism to cloak the white supremacist matrix of patriarchal terror. It is crime. It is complicity in enslavement and genocide. And this stops right now. They have confessed. The trap worked. The Constitution Part 2.1 that was under the addendum that said, try it again. Mother Falcon Fulcrum, go back! This is not a kingdom. Go back and get therapy. MAGA attack. Kevin Roberts and Donald Trump should be arrested now. Arrest Donald Trump and Stephen Miller and J.D. Vance now. Arrest them now. Arrest Tom Homan now. They are killing people. It is crime. It is underway. Do we want to keep watching coverage of how our arms are being strapped down? It is crime. We can apprehend it. We have to prehend to apprehend. What is it? What is it attacking us? What does it use? We are the reality distortion fielding. We are being told to lie to children. We are being told to tell children that indoctrination is essentially the opposite of indoctrination. We are supposed to become an Orwellian nightmare. We're supposed to cement a confederacy. That is what is being foisted upon educators. To pretend racism doesn't exist or shouldn't be talked about because that makes white kids uncomfortable is the very essence of disabling children from dealing with the falsehood, from dealing with crime, from dealing with corruption, from being safe. It is disruption from basic calibration. It is learning to live in jail. It is beginning in jail. It is beginning in jail, where the library is the detention center. And if you want to look in that section, you belong in the section. It is instituting the mind as a criminal. It is instituting capitalist, patriarchal terrorism against children. It is creating oppressor and police state in the mind of childhood. It is crime. This is trauma. We are dealing trauma. This is Ryan Walters, and this is Russ Vogt. And this is M. We are under attack by M. We are not safe because this man has malice. We need to arrest them now. Why have they not already been arrested? Why has the trap not sprung upon wanton confession by action? Have you watched the change in demeanor? Stephen went from drooling, like I can't believe they're going to let me do this, to grotesque, gleeful smile at nightmare. I don't know, glee, I guess? It's really bad, and it can be stopped or mitigated. We can mitigate it enough that it stops, but that takes direct sight of it. And simple arrest takes direct sight of it. We're experiencing what happens when at war. The point is that Moms for Liberty and a sleeper contingent of Confederacy have been at war with us for 50 years or more. But it has never, ever, ever been about political correctness. Political correctness is like the Batman blammo that happens when swords connect and there's an impact, and we get locked in the moment of impact of somebody saying, "You're being politically correct." And we get locked in that moment as if that's the conversation we're trying to have. And it has always been gaslight. I think it's always been gaslight, that essentially we meet Darvo. Please don't say that. Please, can you please not light fireworks behind my dad's stoop on, can you please not do that? He's a vet. Like, on the 4th, can you just find a different place? If that's called you're trying to correct me and tell me what not to do, and that's fascism, and that stops us from being able to ask for care from one another, or begin conversations where there's gifts for both people, not just asks. We're locked. We're locked not only from alleviating wrong and inequity, we're locked from bestowing gifts, unexpected gifts, wait, why you can keep the bag or just bring it back sometime. Wait, how'd you get this? Do you know what this is? Oh yeah, I love this thing. Wait, do you know where I can get my hands on one of those? Hey, I restore these. I can find a good one for you for really cheap. In fact, I have one that I'm fixing that is in the color you have on this pack. We don't know what recipes we have to share. We don't know what songs. We don't know what kind of love and care and simple humanity and love and fun. We don't know what we have to share if we call each other subhuman. We are seeing, like Darvo keeps coming up for me involuntarily, that I need to watch my hypervigilance, but I also need to be aware an equal sign shouldn't be something that people, are kind of on two sides of the fence about. That's pretty tough. It's pretty difficult to think that that would be difficult. I fear we need a way to come together that is peaceful, and we're having difficulty understanding how assembly is possible. And it seems to be more or less there is an attempt to outlaw. If gathering might be called a gathering of Antifa, as far as I can tell, non-existent, a phantom organization. But the idea, essentially, it seems to me, of Marjorie Taylor Greene's, is it House Resolution 26, is to create an other that is in opposition, and that demonstration essentially against Donald Trump or against the administration or policies or against MAGA, that demonstration against Trump and that bandwidth would be seen as terrorism, as domestic terrorism. It's truly authoritarian. That's a classic. That's a classic way to demonize and shut down and empower not just Stephen Miller and Tom Homan's Gestapo, but the brown shirt radius of people being empowered, they say or think, or by the word of the president are empowered, are called to hurt people. He started a long time ago. He told us that our neighbors were sending us rapists. Well, I think he's sending us rapists. I think we get that. I think we get that that's actually part of the initiation. That people need to be willing to say the unthinkable and abominable and be known as such. People need to be willing to not go through a proper background check and go before Congress for a job like Secretary of Defense, knowing that they are dragging in what would later be called nonsense, that is, confirmation interference. It's election interference. Well, you dragged this in. Oh no, but lawfare, confirmation fair. We're dealing with saboteurs. We're dealing with bad faith actors. And I think, something about equity is also about, being able to not pinch anyone's head, but say, I can see through my fingers, I can just see these things here together, and I'm noting, yes, I'm noting an inequity. I'm noting that our scales are not level. And will you level with me? Will you level with me about whether you will follow the rules? Because you see, the contest is part of the job, actually. The contest about how this position is attained and stewarded, the stewardship is part of the job. How it's won and how it's passed on, that's part of it. So, will you obey the rules of the job? Being told, I'll keep you in suspense, it doesn't work. That doesn't work for a democracy. We needed to write that one down and have a thesaurus ready, because I think some things are more or less the same, and when we are ready for it, and I think we should be ready for it. Like if it's happened before, if we've had a specific kind of attack in the past, how about we establish an app for that? Like we Tony Stark it, as far as now we have a system to keep us from, colossal ice buildup because we froze up when we went too high for that old system. Someone came in with nefarious intent and we were victim. And so after George W. screwed up his diction, why didn't we say, you fool us once, there's no part two. There's no part two. We didn't need the 14th Amendment to say, you fooled us once. Like, you said, we were asking you, are you going to follow the rules? It's no more elemental than that. Like, or, what could be more elemental? Why is that not actually an easy slam dunk? Why is it not easy to say yes? These things are all strange violations. We've become accustomed to boundary violations, constant boundary violations. That's an ongoing thing with Trump, that at all times he will assert that he already owns that. Oh yes, no, he already decided you will be his next conquest. Oh yes, of course. Well, but actually, reverse victim and offender. Actually, he brings us Stephen Miller, and it's kids in cages. It's, oh, I'll just be dictator for a day. It's, I'll keep you in suspense. We're dealing with a bad faith actor. Truly a bad faith actor. Mystery font. Yes, rather in suspense. Rather in suspense. Pity 'tis true. We are the reality distortion fielding. That is to say, we are beings with patternicity. We can look or feel, hear, we can sense or ponder. And our engine of understanding creates some kind of substrate for us of what we're working with, of why what we see is something and what it might be and why and how we interact with it. Or if it's just spectacle that doesn't affect us in a material way, at least not yet. Do you know that I found a connection, at least I think what is one, that a yarn is a story. And we tell stories across all cultures. Because we can follow a yarn. We can follow a story. And a story can really be just a paused moment. Like a soap opera can go on forever. It's just re-examining the trauma of a moment more deeply and more deeply and more deeply. So a story is called a yarn, or can be called a yarn. A yarn can be many things, and many things can be made with yarn. And a ball of yarn is called a clue. In a labyrinth, finding yarn may lead you through, and kinks and woven spots may tell you something about what's around you or what happened to someone who came through. They may link you to new yarns too. They may lead you back inside of you. They may lead you to 1862. They may lead you into a woven falsehood. They may tell you about something like a break in the safe path, like a gap or a turn that's about to happen. A clue may tell you something about the falsehood. It may tell you which yarns may be compromised. How do we figure out which yarn to grab? What's safe? What do we let go of when we grab onto a yarn? Or if a yarn asks us to, says, I need you to hold on with both hands, just drop what's with you. Do you know how to make sure that all of you gets through, that you don't lose part of you? Is that not a quicksand yarn you're holding on to? How do we know the falsehood? How do we know hokum? I would love to know. Holy Katzenbergs, it's the mystery font. I have a letter, a piece of mail to mail, a piece of letter to jettison to a destination. I don't think I'll keep you in suspense is a good sign. Different ways to say no, I won't obey the rules, aren't good. The confession that I will settle for blitzing my way through is not good. It's not an acceptable answer. Can we mark those down? What is the vetting process like? And exactly where does consent get to say because I don't think we would have all raised our hands and said, let's go forward with this one after I'll keep you in suspense. I don't think we would have said go forward after, I'm just thinking about the future, out of J.D. Vance's mouth. We would have said, find other candidates, or it's forfeit. Find other candidates. You just confessed. You just tried to renegotiate the terms of office on the stage. That's called an attack. That's lawfare mind. That's trying to degrade the election you're about to stand in. It's sowing interest conflict as normal. It's insanity. We shouldn't be allowing people in who election deny. We shouldn't be allowing people in who say, I'll keep you in suspense. If we care about equality, that shouldn't be a difficult race. Like, equality is not winded by someone saying, I'll keep you in suspense. Please tell me. Please tell me that I'll keep you in suspense. See, that's the thing. They're going at the same speed. Now, see, I'll keep you in suspense can get around the screen faster than equality can make the scene. But I think that's the thing, is we assume equality is always seen, always on the scene, always assumed. It's permanent. And equality has an assailant. Project 2025, in its many appellations, you know, the Ku Klux Klan, they're going to keep hammering away with direct opposite projections. I mean, let's talk about indoctrination. Indoctrination is a limiting. Yes? It's definitely about limiting the process of teaching a person or group to accept a set of beliefs uncritically. So we're seeing a reversal, like a reversal of meaning by the Trump administration's new, truly insane, deeply bigoted policy. It's absolutely insane. It's absolutely insane. It's truly insane to tell teachers that they are not allowed to talk about or acknowledge racism. That's torture. You're torturing students and you're torturing teachers. That's crime. You're enlisting your teachers. You're creating trauma. You're creating massive trauma. You are instituting racism. And everyone who is not the perfect white supremacist, white male, or accepted female counterpart are essentially second-class citizens at best. There's inherent racism, inherent deadly toxicity. There's genocide baked into this language that they're putting into teachers' mouths and working to, make protest of this or make divergence from this criminal. It's truly, truly abominable. It amounts to child abuse. I mean, this is truly, it's truly abominable. Because what they are doing is, of course, in fact, it is its own projection. This is indoctrination of children into the Klan. This is indoctrination of children into being the prey or the predator within a world of white supremacist patriarchal terror. It is crime. It's crime. It should be shut down in a heartbeat. It should be shut down immediately. They've confessed. They've told us what they're doing. It's crime. We don't need to build a concentration camp near Gitmo. We don't need to let them kill 5 million people to say, oh, we should start some proceedings about whether or not there's some nefarious intent. We are in suspense. Like, we're stopped. How much communication is there that's still legal, that's still allowed by Trump's executive orders? To not recognize this as an attack by a non-loyal actor is ridiculous. Totally, totally ridiculous. We're dealing with people who are not loyal to the United States. Russ Vogt is not loyal to the United States. There's no way this person there's no way. There's no way this man can be considered loyal to this country, to be attacking everyone, like Stephen Miller, creating damage and disaster that then can be not only immediately harmful and have long-term murderous impact, but to begin a deep thwacking. This is just the tip of a wedge. These are Nazis, and they're fostering a patriarchal terrorist state. Russ Vought is not a safe adult. These are not safe adults. These are deeply, 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 deeply sick, troubled people. If Jeffrey Dahmer does really well at school and stays under the radar, this is what we get. Russ Vought, much like Stephen Miller. Russ Vought is damage. We need to stop him from being confirmed. There's no way we're safe with this person touching purse strings. He's damage. He's pure damage. Like Kevin Roberts. They want harm. They want people hurt. And they're doing things that people would stop with their lives. They're creating situations of torture. They're creating situations of family destruction. That's why he said, just get out of the way and it won't be bloody. Because they're doing things that tear people apart. Because like a person is a body, so too is a family. So too is a company or a co-op of people who meet as like-minded business people, or of people who have gone through similar trauma and so meet somewhere, maybe that gets funds from the government for people in special situations. But what we have is one special situation of special equity and inclusion of dictator white terrorists. Who shows up as inferior again and again? I would say people who sow terrorism show up as inferior. I'd say people who work with all of their might and alacrity to systematically and systemically destroy people's lives based on racism and bigotry. We're looking at wrong. We're looking at wrong piloted, at privilege turned into mass carnage. We have to stop it. We know who these criminals are. We know that at some point we'll say, well, it was legal. Everything they were doing, they did legally. And that's true of enslavement. That's true while there are crimes we can apprehend, while there are crimes that were not incriminated. More than 12.5 million people were stolen and crushed from entire cultures and lives and kingdoms across the African continent. And at least 1 million of those stolen entire lives ended and was dumped off in the ocean and didn't make it here as hostages. This nation was built on torture of people who had sovereignty and rupture of them. And Project 2025 is simply a confession that they think stolen wool blankets is just what happened. That's just what happens if you get in our way. We'll tell our saviors they're savages, and we'll carve off the top of their heads and say that they told us how to do it to other people, rather than that we brought it with us. We'll tell them that they, the people who saved us and showed us how to live here, are savages. We'll poison people, and we'll do it in a really organized way, and we'll wipe the blood away, and we'll say thanks. Thanks, let's give thanks. Let's call this Thanksgiving, and we'll say Thanksgiving, Thanksgiving, and then we'll laugh and say, hey, that sounds a lot like when we were saying thanks, give in. Remember yesterday when we were killing everybody and saying thanks, ha ha ha, now give in. Thanks, give in, thanks, give in. Remember? It's like today when we're saying Thanksgiving. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. And one might say that today too. Gosh. And we know that Russ Vought and Stephen Miller are laughing. They're dealing out murder, and they're laughing. It's not safe. It's not acceptable. I don't think that it's safe or acceptable to let it go a moment further. You know, this isn't the part of the dance. Or is it? Is this the part of the dance where we say, oh, good, fair game, good sport on you, that, well played, okay, you take whoever you want, blind people and abduct them and hostage, sure, kill children, oh, gosh, sure, women, oh, okay, no pass, okay, yeah, oh, like, how many years do we, like, the point is we say no. Once we realize we're dealing with a bad faith actor and a predator, we actually institute divorce proceedings. Even if we said no yesterday, it's all about consent. And if we weren't actually given, if we were actually not given advised consent, then actual fuck. It's time for actual fuck right about now. Exactly where is the actual fuck? Where is it? I think it's worth asking if anybody has seen it, if anybody knows what it's made of, or can remember it, or remembers that it's real. But the actual fuck is where we're at. In terms of alert status, in terms of sit rep, and in terms of the tool that we need. And I don't mean violence. I mean the actual what is what we're looking at? What do we call it so that we have a common language? I think we're talking about an attack. I think we're talking about occupation, that this is occupation. That constant escalation amounts to occupation. I think so. It seems that way. It definitely seems that way. It's this. Content warning, he's about to point into the camera like he's going to shoot us. And So this is the day that he said he could shoot us in the street and not lose anybody. Again, I believe this is before the election, before the 2016 election. What was the positive here? What was the, oh yes, one of those, please? What was the upside on this whole gambit? What did we like about this? I guess. What did we like about that? I think that amidst abuse, when someone just gives you an option and isn't fighting with you about it, and when you say it, they don't say, no, God, they just say, yeah, there you go. It's like, okay, maybe he's just going to go away now. Because we continue to accept his reality. And I think we need to break from that. If we don't, we're agreeing with an entire way of thinking. And I wonder why we don't want to differentiate ourselves from the idea that lying is smart. Well, this is meant to be RDF, that is, reality distortion fielding. So let's have at. Scritch, scritch, scratch, pardon noise, mic noise. Here at the Mystery Font, there are, and by the way, I am certainly I entirely support the idea of loving our neighbors as ourselves. And I think that goes for us whether or not we care to connect it to Christianity or Christ or not. But it works. And also, I think it's essential. And it works. I think it is essential and it works. And political conscience, like awareness of human kindness, that is a good thing. Political conscience it's not the same thing as political correctness. And I think we only really wanted to have a conversation about conscience. But correctness and an accusation of, you're trying to control me, and just like getting locked there into a dumb little, like, let's get our horns locked together and go for an hour and actually never talk about it. Because I think people who are there, who won't enter the room of talking about, like, and leveling with one another, do so because they have a Klan robe in their closet. That's why they don't want to go inside. That's why they don't want to go in the room, because in the room, if the room is where you're honest, they're going to tell us, I just want those people to go away, or put them on an island and tell them don't ever come back again. Like it's really not self-reflective. It's not accountability based. It's just all structured around hate. Like, political correctness is just a delaying tactic. That whole idea of you're just trying to be politically correct, it literally is just bullshit. Because otherwise you join in a conversation about the thing you're talking about. And the common denominator is that you have some semblance of a conscience. And we may disagree about like what we're talking about, but having discourse where there's reproach and disagreement, that's essential. That's free speech. Free speech is all kinds of disagreement and not just calling each other names and taking up the space with abuse that makes people say, I don't want to talk to Marjorie Taylor Greene again. Like, okay, Madge, what do you got? What do you got besides abusing people? Like, because that's actually not what we're here for. We're here to talk about things that actually resonate with human conscience, or that we talk about resonant with our own conscience as human beings, and how we form things, and also in how they're done, so that we watch everyone, including ourselves, and we say something if we see something where it's like, oh, actually, we need to go over this again because, like, the details matter. It's not about holding things forever. It's about holding them until they're ready. And it's about caring. Like, if someone says you hurt me, if someone says, do I matter? You don't treat them with contempt. You make repair. And the total lack of any conference, any concept of truth and reconciliation from people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, it betrays that they just want to play a game of political correctness that's just a dumb battering ram to keep people away. It's just like, it's just a weapon of distraction from talking about items in the frame of conscience. I want to sing. I'm not sure how I'm going to do because I've done a bit of yelling in despair in recent days. Or in anger, I guess. It's definitely stuff that would make one feel despair. The insanity of kids in cages, the insanity of Stephen Miller and Tom Homan being given power of any kind. Don't worry about doing everything you can, just do what you can, and make sure that your list prioritizes your well-being and safety. Make sure that you prioritize you being safe. We are the reality distortion fielding. We are the minds that can read in noise and figure out what's happening. We're the minds that can look into this space from where you are and figure out, what is this building wrapping around this person? Why is it like that? Is that just Mylar there? Did this just happen by accident? Does he know that this is on?
Is this a confession? Is it a slumber party? Is it a mystery, like Clue? Like we're gonna find out what happens? Is this the mystery font, 42? Why, yes. Yes, that happens. Mystery font, at least, happens. The falsehood will tell you it's the one and only. That much is true. I think this is the one to work with. We are the reality distortion fielding. Well, hopefully, if I find my voice is weak because I've been processing stuff out loud a lot, then I may just pause or let it play out. We'll try it. Maybe this is just me warming up, and that's good too. It's the falsehood. What do you mean, the falsehood? You mean the falsehood? The falsehood? Why, yes. You know, the weed of crime bears bitter fruit. Crime does not pay. The shadow below the nose sees 4 o'clock shadow, but just below, what do I suppose grows? What there? Who there what? Could that be? Who knows what? The falsehood knows. The falsehood knows. Who is the falsehood?
Displays false identity. We are the reality distortion field. We are the reality distortion field. The field is real. just believe. Falsehood can rob you of a choice you would perceive. Reality distortion fielding. We are the reality distortion fielding. Falsehood will tell you it's the one and only. Falsehood may tell you it's the one and only. We are the reality distortion fielding. We are the reality distortion fielding. Falsehood may sow doubt intuition knows things. We are the reality distortion
I think that's it. Is there more? It's been a bit. Definitely between having a cold and yelling in anger when I hear how about sad, horrific crime happening in the name of this country. That's horrific. I mean, it's not new, but it's new that it's on this letterhead and working to do so nationally. The insanity of what is being given to teachers to do to children. It's child abuse. This so-called anti-indoctrination thing. It's full-fledged indoctrination into white supremacist patriarchal terrorism. It's horrific. And it will cement a militarized police state feel to children's childhood. You don't want to let people who would suggest this kind of stuff stay in power. You don't let people who would suggest this, all of the anti-DEI stuff is simply about erasing people. It's simply about expanding white supremacist patriarchal terror, and it needs to be stopped. It's crime. It's just crime. It's massive, horrific, deadly crime. And I think it's clear that fostering through inclusion and equity the spectrum of humanity, that's humane. There's nothing consistent with justice or humanity or equality, let alone with the message of Christ about what is coming from Christian nationalists. We need to arrest Stephen Miller and Kevin Roberts and Tom Homan and Trump now. We need to arrest them. It's apocalyptic crime they're opening. It's absolute crime. They're 180-degree projections of reality that are hurting people, that are murdering people in the name of America. A child died, I guess, at least one now. A child died, not just traumatized for overnight. Why does a child need to die in ICE custody? It's happening because of M. It's happening because of M. Stephen Miller is M. If you see Stephen Miller and there's not an M on his jacket, feel free to put a bit of white out on the back of his chair and slightly surprise him so that he sits back and stamps a little M onto his jacket, because we want to see M coming. We want to see M going. We want to see M going to therapy, but until M is capable of humanity, we don't really want or like to see. We don't like to see M coming or going. We'd like to see M going to therapy. It's crime. We're seeing conquest of us as a resource, and now of our children through this horrific 1776 edict. Horrific. This is creating, the matrix is not just about energy. The matrix is about brain processing power. And we're creating a neural network of falsehood impregnated minds. How did January 6th happen? By creating a massive 180-degree projection that Stephen Miller said, hey, Holcomb, hey, Holcomb, yeah, Holcomb. Like, what? Oh, you don't smoke 'em, you don't know the hokum. Oh, there's hocus everywhere. Oh, Holcomb. What? Oh, yeah, everywhere. Stephen, what are you talking about? Oh, you don't care about lying? Oh, you don't care about people? Oh, no, it's happening. What, Stephen? What are you saying, buddy? Before long, he'd adopted the voice of Nellie Olson and was screaming in the street about how no one would stop the destruction of our children. He wouldn't let us look in his basement. Never. We won't see in his basement. Who have they been protecting? Is it the judge who was set free after catastrophic abuse, only to murder his wife? It seems like Nancy Mace is digging in the wrong place. It seems like Nancy Mace, if she's looking for men, putting on a lot of makeup in order to fondle women in women's rooms, she should look for Donald Trump and Matt Gaetz. And she maybe wants to look at Nancy Mace, but Nancy Mace is digging in the wrong place. Peter Scolari and Tom Hanks are professional actors, and while they're convincing, they're just, bosom buddies doesn't exist. And also, even in bosom buddies, they weren't being predator to anyone. But also, Bosom buddies doesn't exist. Nancy Mace is digging in the wrong place, but that's on purpose. That's on purpose. You create innocent scapegoats by creating non-existent boogeymen. You know, bizarro bosom buddies doesn't exist because bosom buddies doesn't exist. It just isn't real. It's only real enough, I guess, for Nancy Mace to bend it into a nightmare that she's trying to kill people with. Who is the falsehood? We may never know. Although this exposure, some say that this resonance was caught of the falsehood during a speech given by Donald Trump at one point or another. It was thought that he lied. And when we looked back at the tape, he said, "Of course that's not me. I didn't say that." "Well, but you're on video right here. You're on video saying it." And he said, "Oh, no. I didn't say that. That was the falsehood." Oh, the falsehood is struck again. That wasn't his hand holding it. It was the falsehood. They somehow wove into reality for a moment and grasped the moment and then vanished away. The falsehood did it. But the thing is, he's been the victim so often that people have tried to get different through different kinds of spectrography, different ways to apprehend an image. And that's where this came from. So, you know, is this not just an image of the disguise he wore? Is this not just an image of a transition between the falsehood taking stage, so to speak? Like, did he edit a video that we all saw post-tense? Did he rewrite reality? Did he actually step into the moment? However it happened, whatever Donald Trump actually said must have been magnificent to be under siege, but also there was clearly an intent that the falsehood stepped in at this moment. But in this image, in this overlay, do we only see a ghosting image of Donald Trump? I think, don't we see, do we see anything that tells us about the falsehood, I'm saying? Do we only see the disguise they're taking off? I mean, can we see anything here? For instance, what's happening? I mean, this is very much him, I think, but there's a similarity here. What's happening here around the eyes, seemingly the eyes, is that Donald, or is that the falsehood? Or is that both of them? Do they both have this thing in common, this like white glow? And that white glow, his makeup covers it up now. He doesn't do the white glow makeup anymore. He just unicoats in bronze. So this is at a time, but I wonder if the falsehood has that, because going on the theory that Donald Trump actually is the pernicious villain known as the falsehood, then wouldn't it make sense for him to kind of decide to start covering up the glowing white around his eyes? if that's a feature that's about his true identity. You know, to cry fake news and then preempt remedy, it suggests false identity. It suggests one is wearing a hood that's contrary to reality. It suggests that one is creating a spectacle of a belief, of a way of seeing that relieves, that creates no ceiling whatsoever, that just keeps towering higher and higher and escalating. Just escalating. Aren't we seeing Aren't we just seeing escalation? Are we just seeing unmasking? Aren't we just seeing the unmasking of the Confederacy? I think that's what we're seeing. It certainly is what is being brought along for the ride. Maybe the glow that we see around the eyes is just his white skin peeking out from inside. Maybe he's just gone Batman and uses the bronzer inside the white hood now. I think that's, going on the idea that Donald Trump is the falsehood. To some extent, we've been so focused. We've been so focused on just like the hair that we weren't really looking at the whole system of a falsehood. But that's that now, I guess. It's kind of, it's compelling at least. But in any case, if Donald is not the falsehood, it really opens up speculation, because the calling card has been left so many times. And the suggestion that we do have an actual donor of this heralded, some say demonic, cowl. We've seen it before. We've seen people do it. At least after the fact, we look back and we say, oh, good gosh, golly, I think that was the work of the falsehood. They've struck again. Across space and time, they've managed to reconstitute themselves. Palpatine lives. The falsehood survives. Or has reconvived. Who is the falsehood? Yes, siblings, ladies and gentlemen of all ages, the falsehood. A delightful tale. A delightful tale. What of it? What of it? I think I need to mail a letter. I think I need to put that together. we need to see what's coming in order to make sure that we're taking care of it. But there is nothing so dark that it cannot be attended to. The whole point is that if it is mentionable, it is manageable. It is manageable. It is mentionable, and it is manageable. I know that because I learned from watching you. I learned from watching you. We're going to make these waters safe. We're going to make these waters safe for democracy. And goodness gracious me, what am I doing? And that. And it's about consent. In terms of knowing, we deserve to know. We deserve to be leveled with. We deserve information. In fact, these are consistent with our rights. We deserve to be advised in appropriate order and in ways that allow us to affect our own fate. Just like we deserved to know what really COVID was when Trump knew it so that we didn't lose over 1 million people, we deserve not to have communication blackouts. We deserve not to have our budgets plundered, because what he has been trying to do with the OMB is plunder. It's plunder of budgets that have been spent, that he is robbing from out of people's coffers. It's crime. And all of this, including taking ground that truly is illegal to fire inspectors general, et cetera, et cetera. It's about consent. And we need to take as a bad faith actor someone who is more interested in demonstrating that he has the right to remove rights than he is in actually being steward of making sure that rights aren't lost. Why are you fighting for the right to do the opposite of your job? Why are you fighting for the right to not have any responsibility or any accountability ever held to you? Why are you fighting for immunity? Why are you fighting for immunity if you want to care for us? Why are you fighting for immunity if you want the responsibility? We can see that this is someone who only cares about consent in terms of removing it from people, in terms of flummoxing people's availability of executive function, withholding and springing information on us. This is financial abuse, and it is instilling betrayal trauma. It is just attack. We need to understand the illegal brown shirting in what they're doing across the country, across laws. We need to understand. The reason Stephen Miller is fighting DEI, why is he attacking it? It's because white supremacists didn't earn it. That's why. White supremacists didn't earn it. That's why they like to use DEI as pejorative and say, didn't earn it, claiming that others didn't earn it. The facts are, white supremacists didn't earn it. They stole it. They stole it and copied it. We stole it and copied it. That's been going on for a long time. And often we just burned it and then flooded the town. We didn't earn it. What is Stephen Miller's attack right now about? They're not earning it. They're legislating. They're legislating white supremacist patriarchal terrorism. They are systematizing it. You hold off and say, you're trying to correct me. You're trying to correct political correctness. Don't say that we're being racist. Don't say that we're being, until you have your ducks in a row to say it in a way that will work with law now. You've come up with a turn of language and enough compromised Ku Klux Klan allegiant judges, it seems, to even hear cases, but even to rule in the favor of Stephen Miller's Nazi bullshit. Stephen Miller is attacking DEI because DEI is justified. He's attacking DEI because DEI policies work. White people are not superior to other people. White men are not superior. White men are not better pilots. It's all crime. They've been saying systemic racism didn't exist. Well, DEI has been working to ameliorate all of that grift. They're taking it away, saying, in fact, that it's illegal, that you can't engage in critique of racism, that you can't engage in critique of genocide. Who does that? It's kind of like, which kind of president would ask for immunity? The person who does not want to be president, who just wants power to sow conquest and hurt people. Who would say, you can't talk about racism, you can't talk about oppression? Well, people who have been lying for decades about there's no such thing as racism in America, lying for decades about their true intent, lying because they've been at Cold War, at war with the people they are lying to. Moms for Liberty and MAGA has been at war with America for a long time. They're just finding a way to start damage. And from every stone that they do find the worst people in the world doing something, they can say, oh, look, here, precedent, bang, bang, let's get that up. Squeeze that spooge out over on other places. Let's get that everywhere. Let's make it tessellate. Now that you proved you want to have 10-year-olds working overnight in factories, hey, that's great. Let's do it everywhere. These are insane predators. They're just working to institute more slavery and extract from human misery. It's crime. It's crime. Stephen Miller is attacking DEI because white supremacists didn't earn it. And so therefore they also, I don't know, maybe like the idea that we actually can't, that humanity without some people being like thrown into dungeons and tortured, that we have to be tortured. Somebody has to be on top. That belief is breaking us. It's destroying all of us. We don't have to have someone on top. We don't have to be punished to want to thrive. We don't have to torture someone so that people feel like working in a restaurant. We will have society because we want. And we're better able to be patron in a society where need is met, and met well, where those who want and can foster and flower through education, do it, go for it. We're not going to like hog tie you to debt because you're great at doing something we need people to do and yesterday, and so please, yet here's all this punishment for doing the right thing. Here's all this debt. Here's all this time you need to spend not doing your gift. Instead, here, be somewhere where people mistreat you and abuse you and tell you you're no good. And if you're good enough, you will make it through all of this torture. Just let people do things they're great at. It's not the only part of the solution, but when we find gift, when we find people who are able to be gift to the world because they have a passion for something, because they want to be a nurse, because they want to teach, because they want to be of service. Do they need to have what happens if you're born in Oklahoma now under Ryan Walters' dictatorial rule as director of public instruction? Director of public instruction Ryan Walters legislates that there will be funnels into different channels, and if your family can afford it, maybe you might be able to go into the college channel, but probably you'll be going into a detention center, or you'll be learning how to make brooms, or make cement, sidewalks, or maybe you'll be part of his new sex trafficking ring. Ryan Walters is going to make all kinds of money being the new Jeffrey Epstein. There are so many options for a child today, so many different ways to be part of a police state, whether as a sex slave to the police state or a police officer in training who's dehumanized and abused and taught to abuse. Or are you going to be a prisoner? Or are you going to be a guard? Or are you going to be a drone? But in some way you'll be farmed. It's abominable. These are abominable people, and they are victimizing children. This is child abuse. This is every child in America touched by this today, experiencing Nazi patriarchal terrorism coming in. This is like Adolf Hitler sending a dictum into classrooms saying, there's been some rumblings from Jewish students about treatment in some of the ghettos, and we won't have any more of that talk. Now, on to this is institution of othering and degrading members of human family. It's wrong. It's wrong. They'll be Holocaust denying. They'll be denying the harm of genocide. They'll be saying Rosa Parks was a terrorist. They'll be saying horrific things when Rosa Parks is a champion. And Rosa Parks also was intentional and part of a movement. But they're trying to outlaw things like that. They're trying to doom people to have to figure out and fight the same struggles as Frederick Douglass and Rosa Parks and Martin Luther King. They're trying to erase record. They are vaunting white supremacist patriarchal terror. They're putting it into schools. They're lying and characterizing the illumination of more than the tiny amount of what they do intend through indoctrination to instill. We're all very aware. It's just the same, it's just the same shape. If you don't actually teach kids to read, then maybe they won't know. Then maybe they won't know, like, when an explosion comes, what that is, when there's just, things just blow up. They don't know. There's incredible sexual jealousy and insecurity. And that is foisted and fermented and fomented into absolute shame that turns into people brown shirting. I think what we're dealing with is this, that, mask off, that Project 2025 is essentially poisoned wool blankets. That's it. It's just poisoned wool blankets. And it's strange because, we've been trying to ask, just to ask and talk about this a bit, exactly what are your intentions? Will you follow the rules? What do you mean women should just stay in abusive relationships? What do you mean it's not a racist country? What do you mean? Why do you say that? Oh, no, we're not trying to correct you. We would like to have a conversation so we know what anybody thinks is correct or good or real. And what we get is, we'll keep you in suspense. What we get is, I'll tell you, I'm just thinking, I'm focusing on the future right now. And maybe there is an explosive, blown fuse. Maybe the well where you think you're getting water just is contusion, and it's fountain blow. It is expansive abuse. It's calling the anti-fascist an enemy. But we're truly seeing genocide erupt. We're losing our chance to stop this. We're losing a chance to stop damage. And damage has already begun, but there's enough clarity that that's going on that we can simply choose to stop it. We can choose to stop it. So keep your eyes open, Scoop Troop. Darvo will be used heavily today. Darvo is used heavily every day. Be kind to yourself, be awake, be aware. And remember, just pop it up there on the view screen. Just have it in your pocket. Just think DARVO. Am I experiencing denial, attack, and reversal of victim and offender? Is someone baselessly denying when I'm looking for accountability, when I'm looking to talk about something that matters? Do I receive Darvo in return? Denial, attack, to reverse victim and offender? Am I suddenly being called manipulative for bringing up the manipulation I've been experiencing? Am I suddenly called greedy for addressing the obvious greed? Darvo. It may be in use, so keep a card handy that reminds you, that lets you in real time deal with what is a psychological attack. We are the reality distortion fielding, after all. We can see, even when we can't prove something, we can see and know something is up. And it's worth trusting intuition. It's worth trusting intuition. Well, I need to send some mail, so I'm going to do that now, neighbor. And I hope that your day gets better and better, or that you are getting better and better within your day. Who is that anyway? Who is that, JD? Who was that? Oh yes, there I see. He pokes in again there, actually. He keeps weaving the hokum. I don't think he's got anything woven. Maybe it's just all in his mind. Or maybe it will pop into the spoken, into the spolen, the spooled hokum, breathing, woven. I think I smell hokum. I think hokum's open. Here it comes. Here it comes. Hokum spoken. I have a feeling it's about to open. Open hokum. Open hokum. Where is it? Oh, there it is. I knew it would come. I knew it'll come. Well, here's another vocabulary word, Scoop Troop. We have Darvo, and we have projection, of course. We all know projection. We've been working with that today. And there's also hokum. You know hokum, right? It's like this. Let's make it visible. We can see it, but let's see the word. Hokum. Oh. Well, let's do that again. Let's get it to be more legible. Yes, perfect. There we are. Hokum. You see, hocus pocus and lies create hokum. Hokum is the product of hocus pocus. Hokum is the field of lies. Hokum is the falsehood, materialized. It is material falsehood, or resonant, extreme, pure falsehood. Hokum. Anyway, it's a good bit of vocabulary to keep in mind, Scoop Troop. Hokum and projection, and of course, Darvo. Hokum and projection and Darvo. Ooh. Keep your eyes out, Scoop Troop. They're all over the place, but if it's mentionable, it's manageable. And you too can perceive more clearly what's around you, including having a way to label it, if only for a moment, and say, I think we're dealing with hokum. I think we have some thick, hocus pocus, firmly woven, or slippery and slimy and not for the holding, or trying to keep the ability to level with people rather than level with them. We might be hokum's victim. We might be having a woolen hood pulled over us. So beware, hokum. But also know that it is around, and know what to calmly do when you're exposed to hokum. A Scoop Troop, be on the lookout for projection and hokum, and keep that Darvo card handy. You've got this. You've got this, Scoop Troop. Be on the lookout, because brown shirts, feeling the massive feelings that may explode at any minute of sexual insecurity, it's all coming back eventually to insecurity that for some reason needs to then be violent, as opposed to just reaching out and finding kindness in the world. It is turned inside out as weapon. It seems like that's where the damage comes from. That we'll find typically that the brown shirts, that the Nazis are dealing with projection of their own massive, incredibly jealous sexual insecurity and the incredible shame that they have around it without access to help or therapy, that the rage they're falsely fed enables unbuckling from humanity. When, therapy actually works pretty well. Therapy could really help people. But be aware that it's not just the daddy said those people are bad. We all know it's a lot more intense and deep than that. And that people who can't see the justice and kindness in love thy neighbor as thyself are woven up in a hokum that is in large part related to massive, massive, massive insecurity. And it comes from violence and torture. That's the Nazi particle. It's coming from incredible shame. And delivering that punishment, that's a trap we can free those people from. We don't have to let people who are a danger to themselves and to everyone, we don't have to let those people be a victim of our negligence. Right now, we're negligent of the incredible danger that Donald Trump poses to himself. We're not taking care of Kevin Roberts. We're not taking care of people who are showing like these are cries for help. Kevin Roberts has repeatedly made massive cries for help. You don't make an attack that needs to where we need to say, hey, Kevin, remember white supremacists didn't earn it actually? You don't provoke people needing to ask, why is Stephen Miller attacking DEI and bringing the snout back to where these horrific people never earned anything, where Kevin Roberts and Stephen Miller are criminals, where the president of the Heritage Foundation, Stephen Miller's friend, Kevin Roberts, is a lynch-mobbing menace to his neighborhood and his country. This is a maniac, a dark triad, malignant narcissist who needs to be reminded that white supremacy never earned it. This is a man who has threatened everybody in America with bloodbath unless they get out of his way. These are maniacs, and they should be arrested and given every avail of mental health support. We don't let people behave like Kevin Roberts is behaving and just continue to do that. We get them help. We don't enable this. It's truly insane to enable this. We don't enable people like Russ Vought. We don't enable these people. We don't let them harm people. We read what they write. We believe who they are when they tell us. Russ has told us that he wants to traumatize government workers. Russ has told us that he's a Nazi. He's told us that he is a virulent and violent bigot. We know that Russ is a huge racist. This is not someone who is in any way safe for the job that he's been appointed to. I think he's going through confirmation today. Hopefully that's not already done, unless they've roundly told him, no, go away. He's a criminal. I think we will look back, hopefully sooner than later, and realize that we are dealing here with these people. We are dealing with criminals. We're dealing with murderers. The animosity shown United Healthcare and social murderers, we're seeing that institution. And Russ Vought is an architect of that kind of deadly farming of human misery for profit. That's what this particle is. That's what Russ Vought is bringing. It's, you know, it's all an attack. You don't work to destabilize a nation that you're loyal to. We're experiencing, hopefully we'll realize soon enough, but what we're experiencing is war. What we're experiencing is some sort of soft, cold, ceasefire-y moment that can only happen when the party has been attacked again and again and again and not recognized. We're experiencing attacks of people who are at war with us. They're just trying to keep picking us off and readying a massive, massive attack. We thought we were going to have a conversation about, hey, could we share this building that needs to be renovated and maybe the community can come together? And all the talks end up being about pushing the building over onto the population that was coming to the meeting. We're looking at crime. It's just massive, horrific crime. It's poison wool blankets. It's the genocideers. That's who this is. It's the Confederacy and the Klan whipping up genocidal mass murder again. That's the bandwidth it's trying to awake. While telling everyone to be asleep, the rage, the nightmare rage, is supposed to awake and be pointed wherever white suspicion says. It's abomination. And it's torture. We need to bring in, we need the ACLU on this, obviously. But we need The Hague. This is society-wide torture of children. To have children in a world where Roots was shown to kids and we understood, we can deal with this past. We can move into the future knowing what happened and being better people by dealing with one another in honesty and kindness, and we're fostering a future together. This is rupture of human contract, and it is an attack by the Ku Klux Klan on our children. It is mass child abuse. It is mass emotional and psychological torture. It is indoctrination of all of these kids, that the ones who are not othered are brought into being Nazis. Whether they're going to be violent Nazis or violent or soft, I just don't want to, just don't be really mean to them around me. Just don't say that. You don't really mean that. I just want to not really see the damage that this all causes. You are making students behave as a resistance or be Nazis, that is damage, it is child abuse, and it's crime. To institute society-wide the Ron DeSantis and Ryan Walters reality, it's abominable. It's flowers in the attic as a reality. That's what you're making. You're making a horrorscape. You're making teachers and students into Nazis and informers and victims. Indoctrination, indeed. Indeed. Just as Ron DeSantis made a big stink about how going after disinformation was supposedly establishing a ministry of truth. Well, no. Going after and working with disinformation is not establishing a ministry of truth unless that's what you make of it. Unless you're off in your mission. But legislating that people will be arrested for confirming the pronouns of a child, or being arrested for affirming that racism exists, being arrested or fired for saying that equality means everybody. They are making educators either be Nazis or be destitute, like not get funding and not be able to thrive, not be able to exist, likely just, schools either are Nazi Confederate schools or they just don't exist. This is corruption. It's the installation of corrupt, without oversight, murderers and rapists into power. Ryan Walters and Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis and Greg Abbott checking kids' genitals and making sure that, no grooming, but if you want to be a child's bride, that's fine. No grooming, but you want to work overnight, 16-hour shift, slaughtering pigs, you're only 12, that's fine. No corruption, but if you're a white man, just organize it well and be rich enough to outrun anybody who wants to stop you. Seems like that's pretty much it. If we don't stop Ryan Walters, he will be a sex trafficker for Donald Trump. If we don't stop this so-called anti-indoctrination stuff, what's in this will sow damning indoctrination across the country. It's crime, and we have to stop it. How far away is the iceberg, or has the iceberg already hit? Is the iceberg a mile out and sending shrapnel this way? Exploding massive ordnance just a bit offshore? What is happening, and how do we stop anymore? How do we stop? But we actually should be asking and answering that. That's really a thing. We should be asking and answering. How do we actually stop this? And I think the idea would be that we arrest arrest these people? Why is Stephen Miller assailing DEI? Because white supremacists are cowards. And, I mean, because they didn't earn it. That becomes clear when we see that the majority of people gaining, graduate and doctorate degrees are African American men and women. If we were going by meritocracy, then we would not be patterning and standarding things after white men. White men are not really of such great merit. What merit? White supremacy didn't earn it. So what actual merit? What mother falcon merit? Sweet, sweet mother falcon, can you tell us what merit do you see? Any? Is there any merit whatsoever to white supremacy? No, actually. There's merit to humanity. What if we took off the training wheels for white people, actually, and just made sure that we help anybody who needs help? No, what we're seeing instituted is massive crime and a dead-eye mind trick upon people just to say, oh yes, just take and believe this and just swallow it whole, just hocus pocus, or just don't say anything because you don't want to lose this funding. It's just to coerce acceptance. It's just to coerce acceptance of something that's totally, irreparably unacceptable. There's no way that this is okay. These represent shocking boundary violations, which of course is how a dark triad predator asserts dominance.
You are in an abusive relationship. Shocking boundary violations are one common grooming tactic of a narcissist or dark triad personality. If someone in your life points into a camera knowing you'll be looking at the view screen and pulls their finger like a trigger, looking into your eyes, saying, I could shoot someone in the street and not lose anyone, it is a good indicator of a bad situation. You are in an abusive relationship. Who has leveraged and climbed upon a fog of falsehood? Who has donned the falsehood? Who is the falsehood?
sets the fear of separation. 6, the fear of separation. He didn't mean to cause a panic. He didn't mean to cause a panic. Prepared people can plan and plan quick. He didn't mean to cause a panic. He meant to draw iceberg Titanic.
Yes. Like that. Like that. Live long and prosper. Foster love.
6, the feet of separation. 6 degrees of separation. 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. 6, the feet of separation. He didn't mean to cause a panic. He didn't mean to cause a panic. Prepared people can plan and plan quick. He didn't mean to cause a panic. He meant to draw iceberg Titanic. He didn't mean to cause a panic, yet 6 the feet of separation. 6 the feet of separation. 6 the feet of separation. The Nazis lost in World War II. As Allied radar read their crew, and what we knew was probably due. The great American wall builder said, I know what to do. I can use you. Just let it through. He didn't mean to cause a panic. He didn't mean to cause a panic. Yet 6 the feet of separation. 6 the feet of separation. to guard a tree and leave a stone. I don't perceive a guardian to guard a tree and leave a stump. I don't perceive a guardian to guard a tree and leave a stump. That's not what I call guardian. You embody a jewel trump. You're a real card, your father's son. You're a real card, your father's suit. You're a real card, your father's suit. It's not the thing you swear upon. It's what your heart was. It's what your heart was. It's what your heart will not abandon. It's what your heart won't abandon. It's what your heart won't abandon. It's how your word becomes action. It's that your words an honest one. How long must you menace us? You do doubt the new Colossus. You're a real God. of separation. 6 degrees of separation. 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. 6 the feet of separation. He didn't mean to cause a panic. He didn't mean to cause a panic. Prepared people can plan and plan quick. He didn't mean to cause a panic. He meant to draw iceberg Titanic. He didn't mean to cause a panic, yet 6 the feet of separation. 6 the feet of separation. 6 the feet of separation. The Nazis lost in World War II. As Ally radar read their crew, and what we knew was probably due. The great American wall builder said, I know what to do. I can use you. Just let it through. He didn't mean to cause a panic. He didn't mean to cause a panic. Yet 6 the feet of separation. 6 the feet of separation. 6 the feet of separation. To guard a tree and leave a stump. I don't perceive a guardian. To guard a tree and leave a stump. I don't perceive a guardian. To guard a tree and leave a stump. I don't perceive a guardian. To guard a tree and leave a stump. That's not what I call guardian. You embody a jewel trump. You're a real You're a real card your father wrote. It's not the thing you swear upon. It's what your heart was. It's what your heart was. It's what your heart will not abandon. It's what your heart won't abandon. It's what your heart won't abandon. It's how your word becomes action. It's that your words and honest one. How long must you menace us? You do doubt the new Colossus. You're a real card. You're a real card. You're a real card. 6 feet of separation. 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 6 degrees of separation. 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. 6 feet of separation. He didn't mean to cause a panic. You didn't mean to cause a panic. Prepared people can plan Titanic. He didn't mean to cause a panic, yet 6 the feet of separation. 6 the feet of separation. 6 the feet of separation. The Nazis lost in World War II. As Allied radar read their crew, and what we knew was probably due. The great American wall builder said, I know what to do. I can use you. Just let it through. He didn't mean to cause a panic. He didn't mean to cause a panic. Yet 6 the feet of separation. 6 the feet of separation. 6 the feet of separation. To guard a tree and leave a stump. I don't perceive a guardian. To guard a tree and leave a stump. I don't perceive a guardian. To guard a tree and leave a stump. I don't perceive a guardian. To guard a tree and leave a stump. That's not what I call guardian. You embody a jewel trump. You're a real card, your father's son. You're a real card, your father's suit. You're a real card, your father's loot. It's not the thing you swear upon. It's what your heart was. It's what your heart was. It's what your heart will not abandon. It's what your heart won't abandon. It's what your